RBI annual report has been widely awaited, more so this time round, in the hope that it reveals how the central bank managed that 1.76 lakh crore bonanza as surplus transfer to the government. The report also has a lot of other interesting aspects that give us some clarity on the state of the economy and the current slowdown. Taking us through the highlights of the report now is Anant Narayan, Associate Professor at SPJIMR. Anant, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us today. Just on the top headlines that have come out of the annual report, and the first one is the big jump in the revenues of the RBI. Do you think there is more clarity now on that big 1.76 lakh crore figure, and specifically the 1.21 lakh crore dividend that was transferred on the back of higher revenues for the RBI?
Yes, Tamanna, with the report coming out today, there is a little more clarity. To be honest, I haven't gone through the report in full detail, but I will do so now. There are some aspects of this 1.76 lakh crore that was already made clear in the beginning of this week. Yeah. So we know, for instance, that as part of the Bimal Jalan committee recommendations, about 52,000 crores is being transferred as a one-time transfer against previously retained earnings at the RBI. So that part is known. You're right, the questions were about 1.23 lakh crores of regular surplus which the RBI has registered for this year, which is much larger than any number seen historically. In fact, almost twice as large as the previously high number seen. There were some parts which are already explained. You know, there was 14,000 crores the last year, which was retained as part of retained earnings. That was not there this year, so that part is known. What is new, I guess, which has come out is there's been a change in the accounting policy followed by the RBI in respect of its foreign currency operations. As a result of this accounting change, about, in my estimate, and the RBI says a different number, in my estimate, about 40,000 crores has been recognized in this particular year. I have to recheck those numbers. I can quickly explain what the change is, Tamanna, if you can bear with me for a minute.
Sure.
In the past, RBI followed an anomalous accounting policy. You know that as part of its currency management, foreign currency management and reserve management, it purchases dollars over the years. And it has bought dollars at various rates at 40, 45, 50, 55, and so on and so forth. Of course, dollar rupee today is about closer to 72. So the historical, weighted average cost of procurement is far lower than where the rate is today. Now, as the value of dollar rupee goes up, the assets on RBI's books, which is the foreign currency, is revalued. And that change in value in rupee terms is not taken through P&L. It's taken through a revaluation reserve directly onto balance sheet. It doesn't show up as revenue for RBI. It goes straight into the balance sheet. It's an accounting entry. So I was saying, whenever RBI sells dollars, it actually should be recognizing some P&L, because after all, it purchased the dollars at a much lower rate and is selling the dollars at a much higher rate right now. Historically, this was never recognized.
Yeah, no, so my point being that, the RBI has clarified, and of course, there's been a lot of debate and discussion on that transfer. They've also, it's now being understood that this figure was come about after ensuring that the RBI reserves are enough to cover a possible problem in the top 10 banks of India. So we'll just move ahead from that point of whether this was a good move or a bad move, and to the other interesting aspects that at least I spotted in this report, and I want to know what your view on it is as well. One is about the commentary on the nature of the slowdown.
Sure.
Cyclical, could be structural. Right now we think it's cyclical. Do you think there was enough clarity that came in? Would you have liked to see more?
Well, it's an involved debate, Tamanna. I'll give you my view on this.
Yeah.
I think, frankly, it's a waste of time trying to decide whether it's cyclical or it's structural. To me, what cyclical implies is there's not much to be done. Just wait it out. Things will come back. Maybe a bit of stimulus here and there will help you come back to what should be the mean path of growth. I think it's far more than that. If I look at the core issues in the economy today, look at the health of the banks and the non-bank financial companies. These are deep structural issues crying out for reforms. I don't think you can just wait and kick the can down the road and help solve that particular problem. Likewise, look at sectors such as power, telecom, airline and shipping, real estate construction. None of these are kick the can down the road and things will sort out by itself kind of issues. In power sector, for instance, we know that power sector is not viable by itself between fuel supply, between power purchase, and between the state of the distribution companies. You need deep structural reforms out there. So to me, therefore, forget about cyclicality and structural issues. There are lots of things that need to be done here and now. Reforming the financial services ecosystem, solving the power mess, solving the real estate and construction mess, airline and shipping, telecom. These are big issues which have to be sorted. The second bit, look, India will do well eventually. We'll eventually come out of this morass. We will do well. We are a good country. We have lots of good prospects. But the reality is we still have deep issues as far as factor of production are concerned. Land, labor, capital. Those reforms, we're crying out for them. One of the reasons our manufacturing and exports is not doing well is because of this lack of these reforms. So to me, therefore, we should not waste our time debating whether it's structural or cyclical. That's just an excuse for not taking into account large reforms right now. If you take on the right reforms right now, including land, labor, capital, and on the stock, on the sectors like banking and power, etc., I think this country can reach its potential of $5 trillion in the next 4 or 5 years easily. So it's just a question of putting our minds together and taking those deep reform steps, rather than wasting our time on what needs to be done right now.
Okay. Another interesting aspect, Anant, was the fact that currency in circulation has been increasing consistently year on year. It's increased about 17% this time round. Just your response to this and how you analyze it in the context of demonetization as well, where the idea largely was to reduce the currency in the system.
Well, to be fair, Tamanna, we saw this huge dip in currency stock, obviously, after demonetization. And since then, over time, since 2017, we have been seeing remonetization happening. So while the numbers look large, 17% as you mentioned, seen from point to point from November 2016 to now, the overall growth has still been, weighted average, quite tepid. It's been much lower than it has been in the past, in 2014, 15, 16, etc.
Right.
Second part to remember for this particular financial year, this was also the year of some very large elections. In December, we had those 5 state elections. In May, obviously, we had the general election and some state elections as well. Typically, during the time of elections, you do see currency in circulation going up as political parties spend and so on and so forth. So, therefore, I don't see anything extraordinarily, an issue in terms of currency in circulation going up. But yes, obviously, over time, we would like to see this number tempered down and more money go towards electronic and digital media rather than into currency in circulation.
Okay. Some very interesting aspects over there. Thank you, Anand, for taking out the time and simplifying everything to us in the wonderful way you always do. The top highlights from the RBI annual report also talk about, in fact, the drop in credit flow from NBFCs after the IL&FS crisis, which is dipped by about 20%. That's a big indicator to what has happened next in the economy. So some clear signals there which now need to be followed up.